Glad to be back with you again. We didn't pick back up on Tuesday night, but tonight is Saturday. It is the 20th of January. We are elated to have yet another opportunity to sit at the table with you, to gather with you, to continue to talk from our topic. Uh, let's not get distracted. There's so many distractions going on, and happy birthday going out to all of you that are having birthdays. One of our friends from Georgia, her birthday is today, Prophetess Alicia. So we say happy birthday to you. And all of you January babies, you Capricorns, you Aquariuses, and all of you folk that follow those astrological signs, like my wife. I forget what her sign is. She'll chime in a second and tell you what her sign is because she like to jump in and tell you what her sign is. You know, they go with that astrological stuff. Me personally, I'm a January baby, and I was born on a cold day. And just so happened this year, it's a cold day in January, and it will be a cold day on Monday. I was born on a Monday. It was cold on a Monday, and it will be freezing according to what Florida weather says come this Monday. So we welcome you guys tonight. Now, we talked about several things the last time we was with you. And I want us to look at the mere fact that we let influences, we let interferences, we let all kinds of things distract us. We allow disturbances. We allow so many things. We let our appetites, we allow our hungers to get in our way. We allow so many things that seem to put us at a way that it distorts our faith. Paul says that we ought not to let ourselves be deceived. He said, "Be not be deceived." We look at so many things and so many times that the news outlets, social media now has become a big thing. We hear all of the different prophecies that are going on, and my wife use her social media outlet a lot of times as her way of getting the news. Hey, welcome, welcome. Hey, little sis. Welcome, Renita, woman of God. God bless you tonight. To all of you that may have not heard yet, Happy New Year again. The new year is still new. The year is still coming in for many folk. Many folk are still trying to put together all of their quote unquote, what you call them, New Year's resolutions to put themselves in position to move forward. We get distracted by those things. We have to set a new standard. Walk by that standard. Walk by the things that we say that we are trying to reincorporate, that we're trying to rebuild, to put ourselves in that position. We can't lose focus. So distractions, focuses, not losing focus, staying focused, keeping our eyes on the prize. Paul tells us, as he wrote to his son Timothy, let me back up. Let me go to Philippi. Paul told the church of Philippi, evangelist, she ministered on this not long ago from Philippians chapter 3. He says, brother, I count not myself to have apprehended. You know, I haven't gained. I haven't got that way. I haven't succeeded. I have not graduated. I have not put myself to the place to where I brought everything into full discipline. I have not really ascertained. I have not put myself at a place to where I've governed. I have not learned it all just yet. I haven't brought it under complete control. I haven't graduated to the level to where all of my sins of my past are at a place to where they're not easily able to persuade me or bring me to a place to where it creates the same appetite, new hunger, or is easily able to cause me to stumble, as he said to the Hebrew people. He tells them in the chapter number 12, verse 1, he says, wherefore, seeing we're compassed about with such great cloud of witness, let us lay aside every weight. Some of us, we get on all of these different weight loss programs, and now they're talking about the new weight loss pills and how these diet pills rather that they're using, which is supposed to be for diabetics that they're using now for people to lose weight, how much more money they're going to cost people to buy so that they can lose weight. But then they're affecting people's health in so many ways. So getting so distracted, the exercises that we're using, and even when you go into the gym, we get distracted by what you see in the gym. Instead of being able to go to the gym and exercise, you get distracted by some of the outfits that they're wearing. Then we get distracted by all of what is said. Going back to what we said a brief moment ago, or rather what I said, because right now Evangelist is just pretty much looking at me. If you look at the camera, she just like. So, and y'all know I like that fun as well. So while we're at the table, we get distracted by words. She sent me a video earlier where this gentleman was talking about James chapter 1, I believe it was, in verse 26, and talked about our mouths and cussing Christians and all of these other things. And we got to be careful what we say and how we say it and the things that we say. And, the mere fact that you got a lot of folk that cuss. I guess Peter and I guess Paul as well, they were counted out as Christians because they were cussing Christians as well. That's why Paul said in 1 Corinthians 9:27. So I guess that canceled it out. Also, the mere fact that there were times that their mouths got in their way, their mouths got reckless. And I guess that cancels out all the living that you do, because sometimes your mouth get in the way. You allow yourself to get to the place because that becomes a distraction. You allow life itself to become so hard, become so heavy, the situation, the circumstances, the conditions, the places where you are, the hardships that you're going through, what people have said, how they say it, the focus that is there on you at that moment, what you're focusing on, what your eyes on, what you don't have, what you are limited in having, what it looked like you're not going to be able to get or succeed in, can get you to the place that you get there. What is being said to you, how it is said to you, the manner in which it is said to you, how often it is said, how redundant it may seem, and how redundant the situation may be. And the mere fact that people just seem to press you down or don't look like they understand what it is that you're going through, or you just don't seem like you don't want to come out of the place that you're in, and your mouth get to the place that you do things. Peter cussed, but at the same time, Jesus didn't write him up, yet he died for all of that. And although James, Jesus' brother, said there were some things that were now look like it cancels out our living, I think it's the mere fact, if you really look at the text, and I think he should have looked at the text even more, if that is what your whole life is characterized by, and you seem to want to say one thing, but that is not really what you're living, it doesn't cancel out your whole life as a Christian. But you can get distracted easy because you now begin to say one thing, and the moment you're finished saying it, now everything that you say, because Paul said corrupt communication, corrupt good manners. You can chime in at any time. And I understood what it was, but some of us become so holy that we are no good for nobody because we're so bent on the mere fact that we spend so much time trying not to use vulgar language that we use other adjectives, adverbs, we use other descriptive words, and we come up with generic words that are the same as the same words that other people use. So your vulgarity is no different than somebody that literally brings it out of their mouth, because your mannerism, your behavior, your character, your disposition, the very gestures, your facial expressions do the same thing as the words that have come out of your mouth. And then even if your thoughts, because the Bible says sometimes our very thoughts are sinful, so we can get distracted just by that because it's hard. Somebody is supposed to be loving you, but yet you find they're showing more love than somebody else. My son and I, on the way to work, we were having a discussion, and we were talking about the mere fact that there are times where you have a husband and a wife, and you're talking about respect, and you're talking about her giving respect, and you're talking about him giving respect. But there are many times that you'll find a wife giving more respect to her male pastor than she your own husband, but yet you say forsaking all others and keeping yourself to him. It's impossible to say that your leader in the church fosters more respect than the man that you say is your husband that you lay on side of every night. Good evening, cuz. How you doing? Happy birthday to you and your twin sister. God bless you. God bless her. Thank God for y'all seeing yet another year together. So it's impossible that you respect the man of God more than you respect your husband. It's it's impossible to call your pastor your leader when you won't even respect your husband as your leader. So there's some distraction in there, because now you wonder why so many homes sometimes that there's a lot of arguing between the wife and the husband and the wife, because the wife seems to have more respect for the pastor than she does for her husband, and it seems that she give more care, or vice versa, when the pastor is a woman and the husband seem to give more respect or more reverence unto his female pastor than he gives unto his wife. There's an imbalance there, because that's something is wrong. There's some issues that are there, because the interferences. There is some things that need to now be ironed out and worked out. So we talked about those influences, those interferences. We talked about those distractions. We talked about those things that can be irritable, those things that will cause you to get to the place where it causes some imbalance, where there's some immaturities, where there's some gullibilities, where there's some issues where you've grown in some areas, but you still weak in other areas, where you need to make sure that you strengthen your infrastructure within your house. So the leader should be impressioning the mere fact that within your marriage, that the husband is the head. And I even said to my son, I said, I'll go as far as this, where you got a woman and a woman that's married, and one of them's supposed to be the head, and you got a female that's still the pastor, and then there's still discrepancies. You got a man and a man that's married, and one's supposed to be the head, and then now you still got discrepancies there, because now there's still an imbalance. Now, I'm not agreeing with it, but I want you to catch the principle that I'm giving, because when you begin to show more respect outside of your home than in your home, then, because he brought up, he said, well, I looked at the fact that, Dr. E.V. here, when his wife passed, and I love the fact that he preached his wife's funeral, and his wife said, well, I want my pastor to preach my funeral. I said, that shows a lot of respect, because his wife reverenced her husband, not only as a husband, but as her pastor. I said, there's a lot of women that have their husbands as their pastors, but they don't look at their husband as the pastor. Some of them really don't look at their husband as their husband, less known their husband as their pastor, because it's impossible for them to now distinguish between the two. I said, now, won't you catch it? Because in the garden, Adam was both husband and pastor and husband. If you can't reverence your husband as the first pastor of your life, how can you really reverence the pastor in your church? So there's a distraction that's there. It's impossible. You see him as the man of God, but you want him now to take off. Now, some pastors don't know how to take off the pastor's hat at home. They don't know how to be the man. They don't know how to be the pastor. They don't know how to be the pastor. They don't know how to be the man. They don't know how to separate the two, because both are one. That's just like you got to recognize that you're a trichotomy, your body, your soul, your spirit. All of them work together in unison, in harmony. There should be harmony in that. You got to know when the role now reverses, when the leadership now balances itself off, when you can be both natural and spiritual all in one. When it's time to now reverse the role and lead spiritual and now lead natural. You got to know when to bring in those things that need to be said that are spiritual, and bring in those things that are natural. You got to know how to be able to formulate the two. That's like being able to know when there's too much sugar in the plate, there's too much salt in the meat. You ain't got no salt in the rice. You need some butter on your grits. Your bread ain't got no yeast in it at all, and you trying to figure out why your biscuit this flat when they're supposed to be this fluffy. You're trying to figure out why your cake is just dry, if that makes any sense to anybody. So we have to be at a place where, when we lay aside the form of conversation and we take off the lifestyles, even if you choose not to live a life for Christ, but you chose no longer to be the busybody, no longer to be the person that is always being rambunctious or living a lifestyle that is always clubbing or always, drinking, always smoking, always, causing a ruckus because you're living riotous. You're always doing the things that you know will cause your body to be at a place to where you can't do the things anymore, and you want to be the influence, and you want to be the type of example that your kids can be proud of, and you can say, hey, this is what I did, but this is what it cost. Here's where I was, but here's where I am. So now you don't want to be the thing to distract them, to cause them to find themselves in and out of jail are so much far in trouble they can't figure their way out. So now you changed it, whether you chose to accept Christ or you want them to be influenced to know who God is, whether you go to church or not. And sometimes you got to be able to be at a place where you help them understand what church is, what church is all about. Why should I go to church? What's the purpose of me going to church? Why should I read my Bible? What's the purpose of praying? Why should I pray? Who it is that I'm praying to? What is the purpose of praying? Why should I give $1 anywhere when it comes down to the house of God? Why should I believe that God is operating through any man or any woman? What is the reason why I should sing any song unto God? Why should I do good? What's the purpose of doing good? What's the reasoning behind being honest, being true, being faithful? What is the reason why I love? What is the purpose of love? Why is there an emotion called love? Why should I not touch something that is not mine? Why should I do any of these things that you're telling me? So you can't get distracted from it if you want them to be the best that they can be. What is the purpose behind it? So you teaching them the principles by how you live, because there's a lot of times we get so distracted that we don't understand that we teach people indirectly. It's a thing called learned behavior. The behaviors that we pass on to some people that are around is the behavior that they cause of what they see. Lying is passed on because most of our children tell the lies that they tell and touch the things that they touch because they saw somebody do it, whether it was on television, now it's on social media. They were around family members, kids in the neighborhood, kids at school. Mm. They saw an adult do it. Mm. They saw mama, daddy do it. They saw grandma do it, grandpa do it, uncle do it, sister, brother do it, and it looked like they got away with it, looked like it was okay. They got distracted by what they saw happening and how they saw it happen, the manner in which it was done. They found a purpose in doing it. They tried it. They watched it long enough to see the manner in which they did it, how skillful they were in doing it, and they started putting it into play. They started practicing it. They learn how to distract your attention while they got to doing what they were doing. So what's distracting you while they're doing what they're doing? They learn to steal. So we got to learn these things. So what are we still allowing us in these 20 days in this year to keep us distracted? Our minds, our thoughts. What are we still rehearsing in our head that we have not done yet? The people that we know we should let go. The people that we know we should give no reverence to. Welcome, Evangelist. God bless you. Thank God for you tonight, for being with us from Pakistan. Welcome tonight. We're here in Florida. There are folk from Louisiana. There are folk from all parts of Louisiana, Homer, Raceland, Morgan City, pretty much just about everywhere in Louisiana tonight. So we welcome all of you. Welcome Hope and all of you tonight. So listen, Marion, Sister Lynn, I want you to understand distractions will keep us from being able to achieve our goal, our purpose, continue it. Your destiny going to go whether distractions come or not. Tragedy going to happen whether you do the best you can to stop it. It doesn't matter what happened, because God promised, God said, everything's going to take place. The world going to revolve, and the world don't revolve around any of us. But what does take place is the fact that you have to make a decision which direction you're going to go in. All of the things that we hear, all of the things that we see will go on, whether we breathe, whether we die, whether we stay in the house. Our diet is going to be the way it is because our health is the way it is because of the choices that we make. Are we distracted by what we enjoy eating, how we enjoy eating it, the manner in which we enjoy eating it in, the way that we cook it, the style that we cook it, the seasonings that we choose, whether it's the type of vegetables, whether it's the type of meat? You can choose whatever meat you want. It's not the meat that you choose. A lot of times it's the way that we season the meat that we have. It's the manner in which we do it. Just as soon as I get some things cleared up, brother, I would love to come to Pakistan and do some preaching. I would definitely love to do it. I have a few more things in this year that has to be cleared up on my end before I can do some traveling, and I would love to come to Pakistan. If the Lord will, by Summertime, if everything falls away that we're looking at the fall, we're looking to do some traveling, and we definitely will make our way to Pakistan. Get the letters and stuff together, have your country and everybody to get what is necessary that we need to come, and we'll definitely come and do some preaching in the area. We're definitely not shy of coming and spread the gospel there. So we know the harvest is plentiful. We definitely have no problem with that, because one thing about it, we don't want to allow nothing to keep us from being able to give God's word to anybody. Nothing should distract us from doing it, because Paul said we shouldn't let nothing separate us from the love of God. Anytime you want to just jump in, you can jump in, evangelist, because distractions gonna come. I mean, even with our jobs, sometimes we can get so busy that we're too busy to be able to do the things that God say, or we can be in position trying to get where God wants us to get, because we're so busy trying to make the money to do the job God wants us to do without doing the job God have called us to do. And the thing about it is the mere fact that we so busy trying to what y'all call it, stack up the money, stack up the chips, instead of just doing it. And yeah, we can do it online. That's not a problem. We can set some things to be able to just preach online. We can set up a day. We got to figure out times and what have you, and we can do it that way. That's not a problem. I just need to figure out what are the differences in the time, because whereas night here may be day there. So we can definitely try to do that and make sure that things don't overlap each other, or things don't get to the place to where it become even a burden to my health, because I still got to be wise about my health as well, because I know me, when it comes to doing God's will, sometimes I can overdo it. So we want to make sure we keep a balance with all things. With that being said, you got to look at, he said to seek him first. And that simply means anything that you're doing, when you put God first in it, as Solomon said, he said, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not to your understanding. I mean, with all your thoughts, with your mind. You got to remember, the processing of your mind recognizes the things that God wants you to do. And you got to have good understanding of knowing the direction that God is really leading you. And when you know in the direction God leading you, you have good understanding of the choices you get ready to make. And you won't make a foolish decision, because God won't allow you to make a foolish decision, because he ain't going to tell you to take the last dollar that you got that's going to pay a bill, unless he already opened the door and it's certain to you that God is getting ready to make sure that you about to take your last $200 and you're getting ready to sow it into what God have told you to do. And you going to know within your heart, your physical heart, your mental heart, and your spiritual heart, that the moment you sow it, you going to recognize that everything is already taken care of. Because when you do it, there's a peace about doing it. If you have sown it, or right before you get ready to sow it, you are still bothered, troubled, and you still concerned that if you do this thing, you still worried about whether or not you gonna be able to have somewhere to live, your lights gonna be on, your water gonna be on, whether or not you're gonna be able to drive your car, you still gonna have insurance, you're gonna have gas, you're gonna be able to buy food for your house, then you might not want to do that thing just yet, because that ain't God that's prompting you to do it. Anything God is prompting you to do, there is no fear in it. There is no concern. There is no worry. And what? Say that again. There's no second thought to it. Exactly. And you won't be distracted by it. Nothing will put you at a place to distract you from doing what God has called you to do. That's why he said, but seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. When you're in right standing with God and you know you've been doing what God said do, there's no worry in it. The song said, there is no failure. When there's no failure in God, and God won't fail you, he promised that he would not suffer his little ones to go hungry. And you'll find that in Psalm 34. In Psalm 34, God promised that he would always feed those. He promised that. You can look throughout Psalm 34. He said that, he would give unto you. Now, it's not in those exact words, but when you read the 34th Psalm of David, David promised that God would always ensure that you had. Welcome, Cousin Larry. So when you look at these things, distractions will put you at a place to where you're worried about mama, daddy. You worried about those that are sick. You worried about those that don't seem to understand understand what's going on. You worried about those that done left the ministry, those that are not coming to the ministry. You still preaching Jesus. You still teaching Jesus. You still preaching Christ crucified, risen, and on his way back. You're not concerned about all of the folk that say, well, I know Jesus said this, but I heard the prophet said this the other day. Okay, if the prophet said that and he believed that's what God said, here's what God told me to say over here. And if you're following the voice that God have called you to through what he's saying through me, then I need you to follow. Jesus said, my sheep will hear my voice and they will follow me. If I'm not the shepherd that God have led you to, and right now I'm not the under shepherd that is feeding you with knowledge and understanding until your growth have come, and God is telling you now it's time for you to go, and it's time for you to be sent out, for you to now be able to go to the next one that will lift you further and carry you further than I did. Then right now your job, okay, is good. You heard, you understood, we sat down, we looked at, we searched the word, we tried the word, we tried the spirit that this person have said by what they have said by the word of God and the spirit of God and prayer. And God is still saying, okay, now hold fast. Let's go forward. If that word that they said have not come to pass according to the time that they have said and the word that they have called for, then we know God didn't send that word. That's what the word of God has said. So now you've gotten distracted by all of the things because you've allowed fear. He didn't give you the spirit of fear, but a power of love and a sound mind, authority, peace, and a disciplined mind. That means your thoughts will not be all over the place. That means you've taken everything that you've learned and you know how to put it into proper position. You know how to really assemble it the right way. That's like getting some instructions on how to assemble the bicycle. You got a new tripod and you got to be put together. They gave you a picture. You got a new bookshelf and they gave you the bookshelf, and then they tell you you need what kind of tools. They told you what kind of screws. They told you how many screws. They told you where the screws go. They even labeled the shelves, the sides, the shelves. They told you how it go together. They showed you how it should look at the end, but they showed you each part on how they come together. They showed you whether you needed an Allen wrench, and they provided you an Allen wrench. If you didn't have a hex head, they gave you a hex head screwdriver. If you didn't have a filler head, some now provide you with a filler head, and they showed you how to do it. Or they told you that you needed a small drill, and they showed you what you do to put it together. And they went step by step, and they also provided it in various languages for those of us that may speak a different language other than English as a first language. English may be a second language for some folks. Spanish may be a first language. Korean, Mandarin, those languages are also on there. So it's no excuse for us not to be able to follow the directions. And then those that may not can read at all, that may be literate, that is, cannot read, not illiterate completely, because the fact that you may not be able to read at all, you still can read because the pictures are there where you can read it. Because those folk that may not can't read at all is the reason why on the outside of bathroom doors, the reason why in parking spaces they have the pictures on the ground, because they show you that this is handicap accessible. This is where you park if you are disabled or handicapped. They show you on the ground, this is your parking space. So it shows that you can read. If you're blind, they have Braille. So now there are bumps on the pages that now have the lettering of how to be able to read this stuff that's there. So it has instructions. So there's no excuse for us not to be able to be distracted by anything, because there are now information provided to us. Same thing when you get your computer. There are instructions on what to do, of how to set your computer up. Oh, there are computers that have Braille on it. When you get your computer, there are little bumps on your computer if you really pay attention to it. So that way, if a person is blind, when they get a laptop, they can still be able to type on their laptop because they're Braille on top of the laptop. Life will present distractions. It's the reason why most people driving down the highway swerve. I give you a case in point. On my way home last night, I stopped at Chick-fil-A to get us something to eat real quick. And on the way back home, I had us two large lemonades. But while coming home, I had the lemonades in the local carrier. And I assumed that while I was driving that they would be fine sitting on the floor. Well, car had some bright lights on. Lights were bright. And even though they were in the cup carrier tilted over to the right. I leaned over to pick it up while still trying to keep my eyes on the road. I swerved to the left side, but I was able to bring the car back over. For a moment, I got distracted. There's simple things that distract us in life, but I was able to correct the car while still grabbing the drinks because I was worried about the drinks spilling all over in the car. But the young guy that had fixed the drinks, and usually, when you go get your drinks, they don't put the tops on them real tight. These drinks, God fixed it where they were still real tight because drinks fell over real heavy because they were filled all the way to the top. And they fell over real hard. But nothing spilled out. Not even out of the part where the straw go in at the top. So whatever God did, it sealed it. They had not a piece of lemonade, ice, or nothing was on the drinks at all. Everything was still in the cup. The top of the cup wasn't even wet. I looked at it and said, well, that's kind of different because I was expecting to have drink all over the floor. I was ready to get upset and mad because my drink had done fell on the floor. And at the same time, I swerved just enough in the left lane, but able to come back. But the oncoming car was further enough down the road that we didn't get into a head-on collision because for a brief moment, I got distracted because my drinks fell over, which I should have just didn't worry about the drinks, but I did. But I was able to get them, recover, and all of that because for a moment, I got distracted by the fact they fell over because the car that had passed by me, when they fell over, I was blinded by the lights. Mm-hmm. And when I was blinded by the lights, I swerved to the right anyway, almost running off the road because I couldn't see. And because of that, the drinks fell over. Because the drinks fell over, I tried to grab them while still looking and swerved the other side. And good thing, the other car that was coming was still at least a half mile down the road. And I recovered enough, and the car that was behind me was still further enough behind me, at least 4 car lengths behind me, and none of us got into an accident. So why am I saying that? Because simple things sometimes can distract us. The bright lights distracted me. That caused me to swerve to the right. Then I got distracted a second time because I was distracted by an oncoming car and their bright lights. But then I got distracted again because of the mere fact that I was trying to pick up the drinks that flew over because I was distracted by the bright lights of an oncoming car. That was so bright, brighter than even the lights that we have when we sit down to do our taping. So when you look at all of the things, what's distracting you? What lights are keeping you so blinded that you cannot see? Mm-hmm. Whose light are you looking at that's got you so blinded that you cannot see the light of Christ, that you're only looking at the light of the person that's in front of you? What has happened in the life of the people around you that you can't even forgive them? Mm-hmm. Because see, we distracted by unforgiveness. Mm-hmm. We're distracted by hatred. Yes. We're distracted by animosity. Mm-hmm. We're distracted by things from our past because we're troubled by how people handled us. The fact that people have wronged us. Mm-hmm. We still can't get over the fact that somebody lied to us. Somebody cheated on us. Somebody cheated us. Notice I said cheated on us and cheated us. They cheated us out of opportunities. Mm-hmm. They blocked us from getting new positions on jobs. Somebody got the man you wanted. Somebody started dating the girl you wanted. Somebody laid down with her before you laid down with her. Somebody laid down with him before you laid down with him. See, these are things that distract us and you mad at them. You've been trying to get back at them. Some of y'all have done things with people and they don't even know that you did. And you still holding this in your heart and you done talked in their face, smiled in their face, sung in the choir with them, going out to the club with them. You their best friend, and you know you done things with their man or their woman. Mm-hmm. You done even been with their dad and their mama, and they don't even know it. Mm-hmm. The reason why I'm saying that is because we distract by simple things. Hey, daughter, because we allow the simplest things, we still holding things against our own selves that are keeping us from growing because we didn't succeed. We don't feel we're successful. We don't feel that we are worthy. We don't feel that we deserve it. We feel we deserve the things that we're getting. We feel we deserve the situations that we're in. We feel we deserve being handled, talked to, treated. We feel that how, uh, what's the best way to say it? How we're being walked on, being lonely. Women feel that way every day. You make the choices you make because of what you've been around. You allow most men to do what they do. Some men do the same thing as well. You allow leadership in ministries to do what they do to make you feel as though you are not capable of going any further than what you are. And they hold you hostage and make you feel like, let me see, the best way to put it, let me put it this way. Some leaders, some pastors have made folk feel as though they cannot, will not, ever not, and cannot do the thing that God called them to do unless they tell them that God have said they can do it, because God didn't tell them, so God ain't tell you nothing. You don't know nothing. You don't understand nothing. And unless the Spirit of the Lord reveal it to them first, then God ain't showing you anything, and you don't understand anything unless they tell you that you have now heard from the Lord because God didn't tell them first. That's a lie. You're right, daughter. Most times women do feel like they're getting what they deserve, but you're not. You know what you deserve. Do you know what your worth is? And you let yourself feel distracted. You allow these to influence you into believing that the level, the degree, the terms of the friendship, the relationship, the love, the shape, the position, and the length of the relationship is based off of what they say and how they uh, begin to mandate it, and you allow yourself to live that. You live in self-loathing for no reason, and you wonder, will it ever end? I'm here to tell you today, it ends today if that's what you want, because you no longer have to allow yourself to be afraid of the distraction of fear. You don't have to live there. You don't have to give yourself up to feeling less than the person you really are. You don't need to feel inferior to anything, and you don't have to allow yourself to feel inferior to your own self. You know what you want to feel. You know how you want to feel. You know where you've been. You're arguing with yourself. It's no different than the things that we do when we grieve. Why are you still grieving? Over wanting to be loved, wanting to feel real love, genuine love, be at peace in love, knowing that you have elevated in love, because you're tormenting yourself, you're burning yourself, you're beating yourself, you have died within yourself. And every time you feel that you have resurrected and risen and got into the level where you know that love is that at that place to where you're no longer afraid, because see, perfect love has no fear. It casts that out all fear. In other words, it will not let fear come in. It might knock at the door and you're like, hey, how you doing? What's going on? I know who you are. Call it by its name. You won't allow fear to have residence. You didn't just give it eviction notice by you saying it. You gave it the eviction notice by you literally throwing it out. Y'all remember on the Fresh Prince how Jazz always got thrown out by Uncle Phil? Uncle Phil grabbed him by the pants and by the shirt and took him and threw him out. He didn't give him the opportunity to reside, to stay in. He didn't even let him to get in the door good enough, because by the time a foot got in, he tossed him out. You got to learn how to toss all of these things out. How do I do it? Stand up to it. Call it by his name. Where it tried to make you mentally, psychologically, physically, how it tries to emotionally, how it tries to visually, verbally. That means the audible things that you hear. That means the thoughts that you have. That means when these thoughts try to rise up, you got to set a fire to it. You got to set a blaze to it, because it starts distracting everything else that you're doing. Because by the time you start trying to share these things with your children, you try to share them with somebody that you're getting into a relationship with, those spirits now recognize that it can now overpower you, because it now begins to impress itself upon you, and it begins to imprison you, because what it does, it begins to shape you. Paul says, don't allow yourself to be conformed to this world. It reshapes you back into the same thing. It molds you back into the helpless. It begins to put you back into the place to where now you are in bondage. Mm-hmm. It makes you feel like every time it want to crack the whip, it cracks the whip. Mm-hmm. It makes you bow down. You're subjugated to it. You now have to jump when it say jump. You now have to open your mouth when it say open its mouth. You now have to lay down when it say lay down. And here's what it's really gonna sound bad, and it's gonna sound vulgar, it's gonna sound nasty. When it tell you to bend over, you're gonna bend over. When it tell you to spread, you're gonna spread. When it tell you to go out and sell yourself, you're gonna sell yourself for whatever it is, whether it's physically, mentally, whether you're going to economically do it, whether it's going to be sexually, you're going to do whatever needs to be done, because it now has the power over you. How do we make ourselves feel worthy of God's love? Just the mere fact, and this may sound too simple, the fact that Jesus died for it all. When Jesus went into the Garden of Gethsemane and he looked in the cup and he said, Father, if it be your will, let this bitter cup pass. And as he looked in the cup, he saw all of us. He saw all of the dirty, filthy, crazy. He saw all of the things that would enslave us. He saw the people that would enslave us. He saw all of the times that people would bring us to the place that would make us feel low and low, how they would spit on us, how they would walk over us, how they would dog us, how many would dog us. He saw how they would put us in dog situations, the manner in which they would dog us, how they would verbally dog us. He saw the abuse that they would give us, whether it would be verbal, emotional, physical, sexual. He saw how many they would come in and just run over us with, how many they would try to run us with, how many they would run in us with, what they would use to use us with, the manner they would do it in, how they would take from us. So how do we feel worthy of God's love? It's knowing the mere fact that in spite of that, he kept us. Because even though sometimes it felt like that we had lost our mind, we were going out of our mind, we weren't going to be able to keep our mind, we were insane, we should have went insane. Some of the things that we did, we were dying with inside, but we wasn't dead. He kept us alive because he knew that there was somebody that he would send along to pull us completely out. We were holding on because he held us in the midst of it. He knew that somebody had the word of life that was spark, the life that was still in us, because we were getting ready to fully die. We get ready to take our life completely, but we couldn't because our life wasn't ours. That's how we now begin to feel the worthiness of God's love. Then the mere fact, those of us that have children, especially women, the mere fact that wow, those children were developing on the inside of you, and the fact that you knew in spite of the fact of how and who it was that you may have been with that produced that child, it was just a mere life that God allowed to develop on the inside of you that gave you the warmth of his love, because the Spirit of God was causing this child to still be there, and you brought forth life, and that was God in himself. That was the warmth of God's love right there. That was the worthiness of God's love. That was the worth of God's love. Is that making any sense, Evangelist?
Yeah, and I was just sitting here thinking when you were saying that, one of our nurses is pregnant with her first child. And I was laughing.
Hey, little sis.
Telling her
Hey, Sister Linda.
That I remember whenever I had my son, because she's getting toward the end now. You know how you start getting uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. You can't rest. You're still eating everything that ain't nailed down. But it's just the excitement of getting ready to have this child, getting ready to see this child face. And whenever you were saying it, and I thought about it, and you was talking about that love, and I started thinking about sometimes whenever we I look at it like this: whenever as a parent, and I've had kids, and I think about the suffering that I went through in my body, especially just to get that first one here, mm-hmm. and the fact that I almost lost my life giving life to that one. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And it's funny because sometimes he'll tell me, he say, Mama, sometimes whenever I get ready to get out of line, I think about the suffering that you went through. And I look at that, wait a minute, if you can look at the suffering that I went through, that's why whenever I get ready to step out of line, I think of the suffering that my Savior went through. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. And how he looked at it, and he saw me before I even came into existence. And this is a part of the reason why he did it. You get what I'm saying? So exactly. I'm reminded. And so whenever you say, what is it that makes me feel worthy? I know I'm not worthy, but because of your love for me. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I look at is whenever he tell me, because of your love for me, you was willing to sign the documentation to say, if anything go wrong, save my child, that was a sacrifice that you was willing to give for me. So I look at the sacrifice that Christ did for me. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. He was the ultimate sacrifice. There's no other sacrifice that can be done now. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. Because it was a pure sacrifice. You get what I'm saying? Exactly. So that means the foolishness, the craziness, sometimes the recklessness that I have, or things that I may say or may do, or even just my own very thoughts, I know can be sinful. So whenever I look at that and I think about that, that right there lets me know that's more greater than anything I could ever do. Because just that was just a small token of what God had allowed his son to do for me. You get what I'm saying? Because exactly. He already knew before the foundation of the world, this was already done. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. He knew that man was going to step out of line. So whenever I look at it and I see my kids make mistakes, or you as a mother, when you see your kids make a mistake, it doesn't matter what the mistake is, you still look at that child with the same love that God look at us when he see us. And Christ had when he see us, because of the fact, wait a minute, I died for that. You don't have to stay there right now. Mm-hmm. I died for that. I died for that so that you don't have to die for it. Because we all know if we still lived up under the law, half of us would have been dead as children. We wouldn't even made it to adulthood. We'd been dead as children. Yeah, so whenever you look at it and you think about it, those are small sacrifices as women that we did. But think of the big sacrifice that Christ did. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, you make sense. I mean, I can't, express it as a woman, but being raised by women and knowing your story and listening at what was there, you having a lifeline in your neck, and knowing women that had the lifeline put in their neck, being with members as a pastor that had lifelines in their neck, and knowing the danger that it entails in understanding and, listening at what my daughter says, the fact, how do you express, how do you feel the worthiness of God's love? We feel it every day, just the mere fact when we wake up, to know that we're alive and know that what we did, knowing some of the things we did. I'll say this much to you, Shaquita, knowing your story, daughter, and I'm saying it this way because as much as I know, where you came from, what you've been through. You and I have been knowing each other now since about 2008. You've been a part of this ministry. You've been a part of my life. You've been with me for quite a ride, and in spite of all the things that, even you traveling the road, driving truck, and all of the good things God have allowed you to go through, and yet you're still here. And even in the midst of some of the things that you wanted to do, yet you felt God's love. Just think back on it. Just look back at it. Just look at how he kept you and what he allowed you to come through and still yet be here. And the choices, the decisions, and things you could have, the things that you wanted to, the things that should have, but yet in spite of it all, you still stood firm. You wanted to make certain decisions, and even in some decisions that you made, you still trusted God. Even in some relationships that you decided to get in, you never left Christ, even though the person wanted to try a different religion, yet you still knew God, knew who Christ was, and still chose to live the life God lived, but you were willing to make the decision because of the love that was there. Think about it. You walk in that worthiness of God's love every day. Even though.
You know what? Can I say something here? I just read what she said. You know, one of the biggest things that I look at is because a lot of times, whenever we do look at it, it can be a struggle because sometimes we look at the condition that we in. But one of the biggest things that I look at is that I look at the growth that I had from where I started. And whenever I look at the growth from where I have from where I started and to where I am today, my mind go back to whenever I was like about 13 or 14 and we was in the Holiness Church. And one of the mothers of the church, every time that she got up, she would always say, when I think of the goodness of Jesus and all he's done for me. And I sit back now that I'm starting to get older and my mind go back and it start thinking of all the craziness that I got involved in, all the bad choices that I made, but God still loved me and he was still pulling on me and he was still calling for me. You get what I'm saying? It's that one of the biggest things that I look at is that his love go far greater than my understanding because of the fact you can't understand his love for you because of the fact half the time most of us know the stuff that we done got into, the places we done been, the people that we done been around, and you still wonder why would a God still want me? But one of the greatest things that I look at is that his love for me and his want for me is greater. It shouldn't be greater to him for me because let's say it like this: whenever we get in relationships, we don't want to be the person just always giving.
Yeah.
We also want to be the person that's receiving that love.
Exactly.
We want to know that it's reciprocated back. You get what I'm saying? Because if we feel like we're giving all the love, eventually we give up on that love.
Exactly.
But whenever we look at it, most of us, especially as women, whenever we love, we tend to love hard and we give everything of ourselves until we're exhausted because we have given so much of ourselves. So whenever I look at that and I think about that, is what greater love to have. You get what I'm saying? Because this love continues to keep on giving. Because when I'm at my lowest point, I can sit down and I can think of his love and it raises me back up to my highest point. You get what I'm saying? Because all of us, if we were real and we're honest, at some point in time, we deal with some form of depression. You get what I'm saying? And it just may be just bills, kids, life, emotions. Because I know since I'm getting older, my emotions is like on a roller coaster. I guess I must be falling in that bracket with all the other women. We getting into that premenopausal stage. But I tell you one thing. That's right. That's what I'm talking about. See? You see what she said? So whenever we know that, that's one of the biggest things because sometimes
well, think about hold that thought. Even though you feel all of that and you look at the struggle that's in you, look at how your struggle is from day to day, and you just want to make sure that you walking worthy of him in spite of the struggle that you have from day to day, and you want to be able to feel his love. That keeps you humble. That maintains a place of humility. That keeps you at a place of humility. So listen to what you said. Listen to what even Evangelist just said. And even at the place where she says she's getting older and she's getting older, and she look where she came from, and she look at the mere fact that she may be in that place with a lot of women where they're getting into that pre-menopausal state. Even Jesus himself, he said, in this life we're going to have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I've overcome the world. When you can overcome the world within your mind, the mind is the thing that will beat you up. The mind will be the thing that will cause you to feel condemned, convicted, will put you at a place that will have you feeling that, what, I might as well. And this is where we have all issues. That was why a few years back, Joyce Myers wrote the book, The Battlefield of the Mind. And when she wrote it, in the mind is where the biggest part of our battle. When you look at what Jesus dealt with when he came up out of his baptism, he said, and he was led or guided by the Spirit into the wilderness to pray. So while he was there, he was tempted 3 times. And in those temptations that he had, there was several things that was presented to him, just as Adam was presented some things in the garden. And sometimes you got to be able to stand firm when these things are presented to your flesh. It would try to deceive you. It would try to bring the deception. It would try to bring you to a place where you are being deceived, delusional. It will bring you to a place to where it just seemed like, well, I might as well go on and do it. It's already on my mind. I might as well bring it to place. And then a lot of times, some things that happen in our mind, we got to go on and dispel the very thoughts that are there, because you can do worse in your mind than you can do in your flesh. And if it's been on your mind, sometimes you might well go and get it out your flesh and call it square, or squash the thoughts that you have in your mind, because there's a whole lot of more things that you can do, because the vividness, the ability to be able to be creative in your mind because of who God is, and the fact that God have given us that creative side of our mind, can now dilute us, and it becomes diluted. And when we dilute something, it means we water it down. We add some things to it that shouldn't be added to it. So when you look at all of those things that are there, and you look at that struggle every day, I'm that leader that is not afraid to let people know. At some point in time, I recognize the fact that there's some struggles. I recognize the fact that there's some times that my flesh as well get weak, just like somebody. I'm not going to perpetrate to nobody and tell nobody that, that I'm so strong that nothing don't bother me, nothing don't get to me. Yeah, that's sometimes that's footwork right there, and I want to bust them upside the head. There's some time that I get to the place that I want to tell some folk off and not tell them, the Lord bless you, the Lord keep you, the Lord strengthen you. No, that's sometimes I want to use some choice words that I've used in the past. And there's some times that I want to make some phone calls, because I ain't always walked with Jesus.
Come on.
I ain't always been walk with me, Lord, Lord, walk with me. No, I ain't walked with Jesus always. He might have been walking on my side, but I wasn't walking on his side. I'd have made some phone calls and I make you miss. I was like T.I. I take you some places and you come up missing, and I'll get some blue lime and they ain't gonna find you.
I can't with you.
I might as well tell the truth, because I ain't always been saved. Yeah. I ain't always been on the Lord's side. It's at a place to where, my wife done sent me something. What my wife done sent me? My wife says coming up on an hour. And that's what my wife sitting on side me. She could have said, baby, coming up on an hour. She gonna text me sitting on side me. I know it's coming up on an hour, dear. But when you look at it and you are really helping people, and people are coming through, because you don't know who else that ain't saying what our daughter is saying that is helping, because our numbers have fluctuated, and you don't know who being blessed. And I get you, and I respect that. Trust me, I really do. And I said what I said, being fun and out of laughter, but our day-to-day structure. And I'm not that man of God, because as strong as God have allowed me to be, and as strong as I believe that I am in the Lord, I recognize, in order for people to become strong, my fathers that I have, my biological father, my adopted father, my father in the ministry, have allowed me to get to the place to show people that it's okay to show them that you're weak, but it's so far that you go and you show them that. Because some people try to play on it. Yeah. And I've learned that when you think you're playing on my weaknesses, you have now found yourself at a place that you're going to fail, because you won't be able to use my weakness as a means. And where you might go out there and say, well, yeah, I said this to him and he said this. Okay, yeah, go ahead. Because I tell on me before you tell on me. Because at the end of the day, what you thought was going to cause me to stumble, you've already stumbled at it. But I use that to show you, here's how you can now make it through. but I've already sat down with my wife. I sat down with my kids. And one thing I've learned is that my kids and all the people that I've been around, I found out that when they saw what they thought was weak, or they saw what they thought I may have failed or where I failed, it showed the strength that I had, because they got stronger. They got up. I didn't realize how strong that most people had gotten. I've had people along this journey for the last 40 some years come back and tell me, man, if it had not been for me watching you, if it had not been for me seeing you on this journey, I wouldn't be where I'm at. I'm where I'm at because of you. I'm like, what do you mean? Well, we watched you along the way, and because of your preaching, because of how you live and what you did, and we saw how you responded, and we saw how you reacted, we saw how God moved on you. I'm like, really? They're like, yeah. And it's like, wow, I had no idea that this is why you where you are. And that's why, a lot of times you can get distracted by it. Don't let your struggles distract you. Don't let the fact that it don't look like people are listening, hearing, don't look like people are responding to what you're saying. Don't look like nobody is paying attention. Don't look like nobody is following you. Don't even worry about that, because you got more people following you than you think. That's why he said, wherefore we'll compass by with such great cloud of witness. So don't let the little simple things that don't look like, because what it don't look like is what it really is. And what it look like isn't what it really is. So because it doesn't look like people have been affected by what you said, how you said it, because it doesn't look like you're making money, you have made more than what you thought. You just haven't got a return on your investment just yet. And a whole lot of people have said that, but just know that it's coming. And I found I got more return on the investment of being able to minister to people than I thought over the years. God has blessed me with an abundance of people that I minister to from Las Vegas. I've been in Vegas. Yeah, I've been on the strip, minister to people on the strip, been in places that I never thought I would go, all the way up to the Canadian border. And that was because of things that God allowed me to be a part of, and the people he had connected me to, and that allowed them to connect to me, to be able to give me the means to travel in places that, if it had to be by my dime, I'd have never been able to do it. But because I was connected to them, they was able to get me into places that I would have never been able to go. And because of that, God allowed me to go places that I would have never went. And this is what we got to look at. Sometimes you go places and you think that you just going because somebody gave you a dime gold, somebody paid your way. They paid your way because God needed you to be there. What did you do while you were there? I was smart enough while I was in the places I was in to still be about my Father's business, to still minister. And then there were times that I just went because I was, going just to be on vacation with these folk, and folk knew that I was a preacher. I had to say nothing. And there were times the folk that took me with them, they said, this is Pastor, this is Apostle Gary, this is Bishop Gary. I'm like, I could have, yeah, man, y'all gotta hear Reb. Just tell them somebody about Reb. Tell them somebody about. I'm like, I thought we was here for, we thought we was here for, mortgages and all the Reb. We gonna get to the mortgages first. Y'all gotta hear Reb. Y'all gotta hear Reb talk about the Bible. Boy, y'all ain't heard none till y'all hear this preacher here. I know y'all got y'all preacher, but we got our preacher with him. Like, hey, what we here for? And you fine. I'm like, okay, Lord, here it is. And God will give you a platform that you would have never thought that you had. So you don't get distracted. We appreciate you, baby. I'm always be as transparent as I can because I know my weaknesses. And the reason why I call them by their name, because I'm gonna always take authority over mine. And when you take authority over something, you call it by his name, it can't take power over you. I ain't afraid of it. Now I'm careful with it too. And I tell it to my family. I'm careful with it. Because one thing about it is that Satan always try to find a loophole. And that's what we do with the things that happen in our life. We find loopholes to get back into that mess. And you want to know why I know that? You want to know how I know that? Oh, yeah, that's right. John Garrett found some loopholes. John Garrett found some word in the Bible, and I found a loophole. But the problem was I still had to deal with the consequences that came with it, even though they had a word. But that wasn't what God was saying. That's right. But if God be for us, who can be against us? And that's what I want to encourage you with tonight as we finish this. Don't allow your distractions to pull you so far off the mark. Will you get distracted? Yes. But Paul said, attending to the Lord without distractions. In the church, you're going to get distracted. Right now, the church is so distracted by what's going on with all of our preachers, what's going on within the body down in Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, what's going on in Texas, California, New York, all over the body of believers. We're distracted by so many things. What's going on in the field with the music, what they're doing there, and what people are doing. They've been doing this stuff for years. It's just now being said. What's being done in Hollywood and what have you. The word of God is being fulfilled. All of the prophecies that's being said, and what one prophet said, and what another prophet said, and what one prophet said that was a lie, what another prophet said that was the truth, and this one saying this gonna happen, and that one saying that's gonna happen. At the end of the day, you have to know the truth for yourself. I will give you the word, but I need you to go back and read the word, and I need you to hear what the word of God is saying to you. You may hear what the Spirit of the Lord has given me to teach and be able to divulge to you. But you need to go back now and reread that same thing, because there's something else that God needs to get you to hear, because my job is to feed you with their knowledge and understanding. That's like if I had a restaurant and I'd have cooked you a nice plate. You still got to go home, because maybe 2 hours later you're going to be hungry, even if you took a doggy bag. You might have to eat tomorrow. You might not have the money to come back to my restaurant. And I might not want to give you no free food at my restaurant. So you're going to have to eat. You're going to cook. So you're going to have to sit down and study. I can tell you that the word says, our Father who art in heaven. Do you have a relationship with him? You can't call him Abba. See, everybody can't call me daddy. Everybody can't call me pops. You can say that, but am I really your pops? Because if I'm your pops, then I can correct you. If I'm your pops, I can tell you you're wrong. If I'm your pops, then I can guide you. We can have fun, we can joke, we can play. You ain't going to like everything I say. You might not care for me all the time, but we still going to keep on the journey together. My kids don't like me all the time. My children tell me, we don't like you,
And sometimes your wife don't like you.
My wife tell me that too. But at the end of the day, my purpose is you ain't got to like me, but you're going to love me, because I'm here to protect you. I'm here to guide you. I'm here to lead you. I'm here to make sure that you are safe. I'm here to give you everything that is necessary that God has called me to do. My daughter said, I don't always like you neither, but I definitely always appreciate you. And hey, I'm good. If you always love your pastor, something wrong. If a woman always love her husband and do not dislike something about it. So wrong. If a husband always love his wife, and I'm not saying that he don't love her, I'm talking about love her in spite of the things that he don't care about it. There's something you're going to dislike about her. You don't like the way she snore, the way she sleep. She might not pick up everything behind herself. Then she might pick up everything, and that might work your nerves. I got OCD. I'm a neat freak. I like things in a certain order. I'm a clean freak. Y'all don't notice I'm always messing with my beard and messing with my clothes? That's a problem with me. But that's me. I have a certain order that I like things done when it comes down to the word of God. I like order. And then when I saw God like order, I said, oh, God, you picked the wrong preacher, because I believe in order. But at the same time, I like fun. But then God also knows that I'm very stern. But then the problem was I came from a stern background. Hey, Apostle, how you doing, cousin? Ask my cousin. He comes from a stern background too. We like order. So don't allow your distractions to keep you from being focused. Mm-hmm. My wife have ADHD. My children are ADHD. Oh, but let me flip the script on y'all. Did y'all know that I have ADHD? Y'all would never know, did y'all? And guess what? You know why? Because I learned how to stay focused. That's right. Yes, my daughter just ran out the room and like, what? Daddy got ADHD? See, they called it being what they called it when we were kids. No, they ain't no when we were kids, they called it
attention.
no, they called it hyperactivity when I was a kid. They called me hyperactive when I was a child. So we ain't had 88. We ain't have all the things y'all got. They called me hyperactive when I was a child. So I've always had ADHD, whatever they call. Well, all the acronyms y'all got them called. But at the end of the day, I was taught how to be able to maintain my brain. But I got a master's in psychology. I mean a bachelor's. I ain't got my master's. I got a bachelor's in psychology.
Most people that don't have it are smart.
So I'm a nerd. Can't help it. I'm meticulous. I'm meticulous. So with that being said, I pray that as we sit at the table and we discuss these issues and we discuss all of the things that are there, we try to give the word, but we try to discuss the issues of life. So stop grieving and letting your grief and stop bargaining with yourself. Get out of denial. Stop trying to get to the place to say, I'm going to do this. And stop trying to find a different identity to identify with and disassociate with and find something to now say, I'm going to create this world with. No. Become who you are and be the person God created. You know who you are. Stop having all of these breakdowns. Stop saying it's schizophrenic one, schizophrenic two. Stop saying it's bipolar one, bipolar two. You ain't manic depressed. We all have some form of it. But at the end of the day, you don't have to live there.
Amen.
Decide today, January 20th, that you no longer want those things at your address. So how do I live in the worthiness of God's love? Just how you are right now. He loves you where you are. And because he did, he gave his son. You know that. His son gave his life. He stayed around for 40 days to make sure that his disciples that were bishops became apostles after he sent back the promise of the Holy Ghost. But he said in this life, you're going to have tribulation. Be of good cheer. Don't allow your mind to get you so caught up in trap and let people speak in your head and make you feel like you less than what you are. You know what you are. You know what you're made like. They might not like what you look like, what you shape like. They might not like your eyes, your hair. They might not like your teeth. They might not like your ears. They might not like your chest. If you're a man, they might not like the way your breasts are. They might not like the way your hips are. Might not like the fact you ain't got a big butt or whatever the case is. Might not like your finger. It is what it is. Do you like it? Do you love it? Do you like the color of your eyes? Do you like your eyebrows? Do you like your lips? Do you like the shape of your ears? Do you like the shape of your head? If you love it, then guess what? God has somebody that he designed just for you that's going to love everything about you. Going to love your smell and everything else, baby. So much so, you ain't going to worry about it. They're going to want to pray with you with everything you do. They're going to want to build you. They're going to push you up so much, you're going to be saying, back off, hold up, slow your roll, pump brakes. Guess what? They're there. But all you got to do, wait. You ain't got to go search for them. Ladies, all y'all out there that's listening tonight, stop going look for a man. He said a woman ain't got to look for them. He said a man that find a wife. Y'all better stop finding. That's why y'all keep getting the wrong thing. Stop proposing to these men. Y'all better let him propose to you. Stop going buy your ring. Let him go buy you a ring. Do you realize you're more costly than diamonds and pearls? He supposed to not be able to fold you. You so busy letting him pay you $20, $30 for nothing. Hey, my brother, you're worth more than that. He making you feel like you're worthless. You got to know your worth. You're worth more than that. You're priceless. Gold can't compare to who you are. Your mind, your body, your spirit is worth more than what they try to make you seem. So stop getting distracted by the simple things. If you're going to call on the name of the Lord, then you got to depart from some things. And when you depart from those things, guess what? He promised to fill you with some things. If he don't see himself in you and all he see is you, then he don't see but one thing that he want.
That's it.
He said when a man find a wife, he find a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
And he findeth favor.
Mm-hmm.
When he find a good thing, he findeth God when he find it. Because he sees God and he sees himself in that woman. Then that woman see herself in him. Now the flesh gonna come in at some point. That's understood because we also fleshly creatures. But at the end of the day, if all he sees is your flesh, baby, you might want to click your heels like Dorothy. So good night. I love you. Right, let me look for you. Like the song say, let me lean on you, Lord.
Mm-hmm.
Let me lean on you.
All right, y'all. We're gonna get ready to tell you all good night. If you don't have a church home and you are looking for somewhere to worship, please join in with Apostle and the fam as they go forth on tomorrow. Tomorrow I will be at work, so unfortunately you will not be seeing my face tomorrow for worship service. But tune in and listen to the word, hear the spirit of the Lord as he speaks through the man servant on tomorrow. We ask that you join us on Tuesday night for our seat at the table. As of right now, we're supposed to be here on Wednesday to do our fire fuel. But if anything changed, please look out for a flyer of letting you know that things have changed. But we love each of you all. We thank you for your support on tonight. Shaquita, as always, we thank you for your transparency in the conversation because this is yet a virtual conversation. When we come to the table is not about Apostle and I talking. It's about all of us talking because I am a believer that we are all overcomers through each other's testimony. This is where we grow. This is how we learn. Bible study is for us to be taught, but our conversation is for us to share with each other of how to overcome life and life issues. That's the purpose of the seat at the table. So we look forward to seeing you on tomorrow at 11:25. Everybody knows Apostle will start early. If it can, he will start early. So join us tomorrow morning for our live morning worship experience as Apostle go forth on tomorrow. We ask you that you continue to keep us in your prayers as the Lord continue to watch over us. We ask him to watch over you and your home. We're going to continue to pray for you and your family. So we love you on tonight. God bless you. Have a great night.
Yeah, have a great night. Listen, I'm going to be selfish for a second. Monday is my birthday. Lord, let me live. My twin, Tanisha, her birthday Monday as well.
Toya.
And my little sister, Toya. So I got two of my friends, my other daughter in the ministry, that's Tanisha Moore. And my little sister, Toya, her birthday Monday. I have a birthday coming up on Monday. Lord, let me live. I'll be 51. Look like about 70. Look at what the doctor saying my back is. But anyway, I'm being selfish. I got a birthday coming. My cousins had their birthday today. My friend had a birthday today, but my day is Monday. Oh, my daughter's birthday on the 25th. Oh no, her baby birthday on the 25th. So we got some birthdays coming. And my son, my cousin said his son's birthday must be Monday as well. So we got some birthdays in January. It's a good month. My mother, if she'd have been here, her birthday was on the 17th, but God gave her rest until he come again. So I get to celebrate this. I can be selfish. I ain't got to celebrate with mama right now. So it's just me. Anyway, we see y'all on Tuesday, but join us in the morning for 11:25. If you don't watch out, it might be 11:20. So I'll holler at y'all in the morning. Be blessed. I love y'all. I love y'all. I love y'all. Take care. Yeah, we go celebrate. It's like Brown says, to celebrate. So we see y'all in the morning at 11:25. All right. Have a great night. Thank y'all for joining us. Share this if this has blessed you. And we'll see you on tomorrow morning for 11:25.